Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to your wholesaling lease options marketing mastermind session. My name is Gil, and if you can see the screen clearly, please go ahead and confirm in the GoToWebinar control panel. If my audio is coming out loud and clear, please go ahead and confirm as well. We're going to do some mic and audio tests here with some of our panelists that are already logged onto the session. If it's your first time joining us on these daily training webinars, welcome. Thank you for checking it out. I do have some people to thank that have just joined our subscribers list. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. Today on our session, I am going to continue our series on marketing and picking up properties via the Bird Dog Network, property scouts, distressed property specialists, referral partners, tomato, call it what you want. I understand that in some markets there are certain terms that are best unsaid, right? But then again, in other markets, it's perfectly okay and acceptable. I think we're all on the same page on what a bird dog or a property scout is. If that's not clear to you, we'll give a definition or at least give you some feedback and tips on what a bird dog or what a property scout is, right? Yesterday's replay literally just got out of the oven. We uploaded it yesterday, but unfortunately, you know that clicking sound? Somebody had reported a clicking sound on the video replay, and it actually happened again, this time much worse. So this video just went live earlier today, and I will be placing it onto the website for you guys to go ahead and check out. So let me go ahead and update the website. If you have any urgent feedback, questions, or clarifications, go ahead and enter that in the GoToWebinar control panel. This is a direct line to myself, our marketing office, and if you are working with any of the investors or educators in our program or in any of our target markets, let's say you guys are working out some joint ventures or partnering up on deals, go ahead and type in your question or clarification. This is when everybody logs on, at least on my side, and make sure that any support or questions you may have, they can address it and keep you moving forward. So with that in mind, let me go ahead and touch base with some of our panelists here this morning. Mr. Bill Rafter, how's it going?
Hey Gil, I'm doing well, man.
Fantastic, fantastic. Good to hear you. It looks like the audio's coming out loud and clear on your end. Anything urgent for the group this morning? I know you're working closely with a couple of investors and a Noe Rodriguez, licensed investor, agent, and / broker in the California market. Yesterday, we had analyzed some feedback that he had given with regards to his direct mail campaign. So I wanted to make sure you got his contact info so you can give him a call and work out a better way to process his leads, because the 10 cents on the dollar offer, nobody is accepting it. And we all know here in California, you have to come to the table with at least 2 or 3 other options to keep a seller interested. Anything urgent on your end, or have you gotten to touch base with Noah?
Yeah, first of all, I've been in contact with Noah, and you know, we got something set up for Saturday, so I'm going to look over everything he's doing and make some recommendations.
Nice, nice, nice. Very
so
nice.
That's that. So yeah, we got that set up. Another investor had called in with a problem. I think it probably would be beneficial to everybody, so I can address those, just a couple of quick issues.
Awesome.
Number one, she was stating that she had a problem with the seller. The seller had actually acquired the property through a quitclaim deed, and then you know, this is a traditional wholesale deal. So she's negotiated a deal with the seller, and you know, is trying to assign the property. So they're getting, she found a buyer getting a closing, and now the cash buyer that's buying the property wants title insurance and a warranty deed. And unfortunately, the seller acquired it by quitclaim deed, and they're not willing to do a warranty deed. So this is going to come up sometimes for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so here's a couple of possible solutions.
Hold on, what's the, I'm trying to take some notes here while you go through. What's the scenario, Bill, so I can document it here for the replay?
Number one is seller acquired property via quitclaim deed, Q-U-I-T, claim deed.
Okay.
And that, most likely the reason why that happened is because maybe it was inherited property, and he acquired it from a deceased spouse, a deceased parent, and or somebody else had an interest in the property, maybe a brother or sister, and they simply deeded their interest over to this particular seller. Which is fine. If the guy was going to hold on to the property, no big deal. But he wants to sell the property for cash, and the new buyer wants a warranty deed, which means that the seller is warranting the property, the title to the property, from the time he owns it forward. Well, if he didn't acquire it by warranty deed, only by quitclaim, then by giving a warranty deed to the new buyer, he's putting himself at risk if there's any problems now or in the future with that title. So what I suggested to the student that you do is to find out what the issues truly are. What's the issue? Because she didn't ask the seller, what's the real reason why the seller's concerned about this? I think that's it, but I'm not sure. So that's the first step, find out why the seller feels that way. And number two, see if the seller can obtain a title insurance policy that he or she buys to protect themselves against any claims against the property now or in the future. That's what title insurance is all about. It's, just like car insurance. You buy car insurance in hopes that you never ever have an accident. But if you do, you're covered. It's the same thing with title insurance. You hope that there's never any issues with that title now or in the future, but if there is, the title company is supposed to stand and take care of that. And before they'll issue title insurance, they're going to check the title and research the guy's name and research the title on the property and make sure that there's nothing out there currently that they're aware of that's going to impact the title. And then once they've determined there's nothing out there that they're aware of, and the seller will sign a statement that he hasn't filed bankruptcy, that to the best of his or her knowledge, there's no liens or judgments pending against them. They're not involved in any lawsuits. They're not aware of any lawsuits that are anticipated or anything like that. They have to sign a statement like that. And then the title insurance company will go ahead and issue the title insurance policy and cover the seller, and then the seller at that point could issue a general warranty deed or warranty deed and not be worried about any claims against him or her in the future. That's going to come up for everybody doing in real estate, whether it's now or sometime later, so just keep that in mind. And the second thing, Gil, and this is going to happen to everybody, is the student has a property under contract, but she's concerned about another investor perhaps going around her, or the other concern is the seller still lives in the property and she doesn't want to parade a bunch of wannabe cash investors to buy this property without getting a commitment from them. So here's how you handle those two things. Number one, if you're worried about somebody going around you, make sure you have a solid, purchase contract. Don't deal with people that are unethical. And then the other thing that you could do is when you negotiate the deal with the seller, also have the seller sign a memorandum of contract that you would have notarized, and then have that memorandum of contract recorded at the recorder's or clerk's office down at the courthouse, and it puts an encumbrance on the property, and that way nobody can go around you. As long as you have an active contract and somebody tries to buy the property around, go behind your back and deal directly with the seller, when they go to close, this memorandum of contract is going to appear on the title, and they're going to have to deal with you before they can close the deal. So that's one way to protect yourself. And as far as multiple showings, when you have an owner-occupied property, take good pictures of the property inside and out. Provide, put together a complete package of information on the property. The price, the terms, the estimated repairs, the pictures. Anything anybody would want to know about that property, the bedrooms, the baths, the square footage, etc. All of the information an investor would want to know in order to make an effective decision to buy that property, the after repaired value, comparable sales, the whole package. And so you submit that to all your potential investors, and then you have them drive by the property, look at the package, and make an offer subject to interior inspection. And so what that means is they'll buy the property based on your price and terms and based on your representation, and then so it's a solid deal, and the only thing they get to do is then make an appointment to inspect the property, and as long as the property is as represented, then they would then sign a statement right after they inspect that they release that contingency, subject to inspection. So they've inspected it, they're happy with it, they release that contingency, and you've got a solid deal, and you're ready to go to closing. So that's the way to show the property to multiple buyers without parading them through the property and, wasting the seller's time. Now, suppose you have a whole bunch of people interested. First in with the money gets the deal. That's the only fair way to do it. So, and what I try to do also when I've got multiple investors interested is I try to collect all or a portion of my assignment fee up front. So when they release their inspection contingency, I want either earnest money or a piece of the assignment fee, a check to me or a cashier's check made out to me or my company in advance to solidify that deal. That they're in the game, and usually they won't give you your entire assignment fee, but they will give you an earnest money or a portion of it, and then you go ahead and set up the closing, and you get the balance of your assignment fee when you actually do the closing. So that's how you deal with that kind of circumstances. And trust me, if you're a traditional wholesaler, these issues that I just described are definitely going to come up. Back to you, Gil.
Nice. So at least you guys would, definitely take some notes, especially if your scenario with the seller is coming across a quick claim deed. We have broker Julio on standby here, and he's going to share what's been working for him lately. And boy, does he have some stories with regards to having insurance on a property. It's funny how you had mentioned that. Let me just double check the questions portion here to see if we have any urgent questions or scenarios from the group. What's the best way to find a good market? Franco is asking. Welcome, Franco. It's the first time we're seeing you on these sessions. The best place to start, for those of you that don't have access or are still shopping around for content or training, click on the Start 101 section here on the website. And I think it's video, maybe video 2 or video 3. But good news, the replay is up and running from yesterday's session, so let me take a second here just to brief you guys on yesterday's replay. We gave some feedback and analysis on an investor's direct mail campaign, all right, and addressed, why for sale by owner signage in your area could very well be gold, right, based on actual deals we've done from for sale by owner signs. We addressed the misconception there are no leads and deals on Craigslist. I showed you exactly in the video why people will say or claim that there's no leads and deals on Craigslist. It's all in the way they are searching and the way they are working their local Craigslist markets. Last but not the least, we talked about going door to door using post-it notes, right? So if direct mail you're priced out of direct mail if you only have $100. you might want to consider flyers or post-it notes marketing, where instead of $1 a letter, right? Because that seems to be the going rate, about $1.25. If you have $100 in a marketing budget, you'll probably end up with 100 letters tops, right? The other approach, and it might be a better one that you would consider testing, is to go ahead and go with flyers or post-it notes, where you can get about 1,000 or a couple thousand units. Go door to door in your neighborhood, tack those on the door, or how to have somebody do it for you. I do a Google search live on that session on how to find companies and professionals that will go door to door on your behalf there in your local marketplace. Now, to access the notes, you simply...
Hi there. I have something very special to share with you.
The notes section right here, and it would pull up all the notes that we had done or talked about during the replays or the training video, right? So if we talk about a marketing piece, an ad that we placed, you will find that in the notes section for you to copy paste. Now, I encourage you guys to, we will have everything on the site, but we are going through some updates and changes. We may modify some of the site subscription services. So while the content is available, definitely maximize it and swipe those files while you can. Under the Sites and Tools section, we have any links relevant to that video. So if I talk about a tool, a website, then that would be in the Site and Tools section here of this little navigation window, right? So replays, notes, sites, and tools are available there on the site. So Franco, to address your question, best way to find some markets, there's two ways you can go about it. Number one, you can apply, where's our video on heat maps? Video 2, right? Where do I find motivated sellers? Check out video 2 in this series, which documents how we did 140,000 wholesaling in 90 days. We did not pick up a hammer, rehab a home, and this was over 8 contracts. So check out video 2, and that will give you an idea. Gil, can you turn up your volume? Your voice is very low. Thanks for the heads up. I'll unmute Steve. Steve, can you help troubleshoot the mic here for me? Is the mic coming out okay, or is the volume too low?
Yeah. No, it's perfect.
Okay.
I think I saw that when I logged in, so I think that was an early, or no, yeah, it might have been an earlier comment. But no, it does sound good right now.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Sounds good. And your audio's coming out loud and clear as well. Very nice. And so that's one way to do it. You can apply a heat map analysis in your area where you can take a look at the high volume of transactions. You want to send your marketing in an area with a high volume of transactions because that's where the demand is, right? So in theory, if you have a product or a piece of property, an investment deal or a wholesale deal in a market with high demand, then it's going to fly off the shelf and sell in a week, 2 weeks, or as quickly as possible, right? If you are marketing for Malibu, $5, $10, $20 million estates overlooking the ocean, then you're dealing with a much smaller pool of buyers, right? And now you're dealing with more like specialty type investing, but check that out. Now, if you have an investor-friendly agent or broker, then you can request for the zip codes that have the hottest or highest volume of cash transactions, okay? Cash transactions. That's if you're wholesaling. If you are applying the owner financing, rent-to-own, subject twos, or creative financing, then you would target areas, especially if you're doing a rent-to-own or a lease option, or cooperative lease options, again, tomato, tomato, then you would target areas that have a high volume of retail sales. All right? So hopefully that answered your question, Franco. And let me copy paste your question on here so that we can put that in the notes section. Any other questions urgent from the group before we jump into our segment and content for the day? Follow-up question. I am no longer exclusive to that company, if that makes any sense, Franco. We used to be exclusive with them. Prior to them, we were doing the back-end coaching and the marketing for the Rich Dad group. So for their 20, 30, 40K coaching students, we were providing the marketing, the telemarketing, the data scraping, managing the leads, making the follow-up calls. If you're interested in our marketing packages, then I would recommend you check out the marketing section of the website. And this would give you some options on different forms of marketing. Now, depending on your budget, I recommend you take a look at a marketing plan that fits whatever capital you have, right? We've got basic services that cover lead generation, scraping Facebook for target markets and leads, YouTube marketing. So check out the marketing section here in detail. But the good news is we are no longer exclusive, and we are actively looking for new market students to partner up with. We just went through some recent upgrades as well, added more people to the telemarketing teams for cold calling Craigslist, calling back your direct mail leads, and so the marketing packages are available there for viewing and in greater detail. All right. Brenda Power says, great info, Bill. Now I know how to proceed. Fantastic, Brenda. Good to hear you've got some live leads. Is this the same Brenda we're looking to partner with on a deal in San Diego? Awesome, awesome. Perfect. All right, Mr. Clutch, how are things going in the group coaching sessions, on the live seller calls? Any interesting scenarios or updates for the group?
Yeah, I do have an interesting one as well, and I just got some feedback. I think I know what we're going to do with it, but I wanted to run it by you and Bill, definitely. So on the session, what was it, yesterday or earlier, I had the initial conversation with the seller. It's an out-of-state seller, and she owns a piece of land in a war zone, right? No house on it. She bought it 7 years ago at a tax sale for $15 grand, and now she just wants to sell it. So I gave her, left her a voicemail yesterday on the session. She called me back outside, and the feedback I got with it, it's not really worth anything, right? It's a war zone, it's a piece of land, and I was like, maybe we can wholesale it for $1,000, right? So we had to get, so I was told it's worth nothing. If she gives it to us, then we might have a deal, right?
Okay.
So I called her back and kind of told her it wasn't worth anything. And
that's always a lovely conversation.
Yeah, I was like, we're a long way from, 15,000. We're much closer to zero. And then, that was the last we talked about price, and then she just kind of started talking about, the logistics of how, how can we make it as easy as possible for her to give us the property. So she's okay with transferring title for no money exchange and just give us this piece of land, right?
Interesting.
So it's a war zone, though. It's not really worth anything. The bright side is she just paid the taxes in March, right? And the yearly taxes are only $150. So what I was thinking is, we just take title to it, own this piece of land that's worth nothing, and worst case scenario, it's going to cost us $150 in 8 or 9 months. What do you? I'm interested to see what you and Bill think about that. If it's even worth pursuing, if there's some unknown risk or liability to holding this thing that I'm unaware of,
I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one. I mean, I can tell if you don't have any other leads to work, if you're brand new and a newbie, I would encourage you to pursue it somehow, or at least continue the conversation so you get practice making a pitch, getting documents signed. I would say that's a conversation definitely for, Mr. Henry Serrano. He does land deals. That's what he specializes in. So he may be able to put some fresh eyes on this and find a different way to monetize it. I don't know much with land. I don't do much with it. Whenever we come across it, I'll always outsource it or forward it to somebody like Henry that knows how to value or has buyers in their back pocket. Bill, would you handle this thing any differently? Any initial take on that?
Well, first of all, there's some risk because of its location. Excuse me. Is it, is it a lot between two buildings or two houses?
It's in a residential neighborhood, so it's like there should be a house there, but there's not.
Okay. Well, I probably would try to get a hold of the owners on each side and see if they would like to have a lot attached to their adjacent to their property. So that would be the first thing that I would try to do. Number two, if it's a gathering place for people that are causing problems in the area, that could be a big liability. If it's a trash heap, that could be a big liability. If it's been a lot where people, kids have played on for a long period of time, or people have walked across it to get to the other side, as a shortcut, then you may have somebody that created an easement through the property, and it might not be worth anything. So I would want to have at least a kind of an aerial view of what the property looks like in its current state. And the other thing that there's a possibility, if it's big enough, maybe Habitat for Humanity wants it to build something on there, or maybe the city wants it for whatever reason, and they would buy it for $1,000. So, but I would definitely want to find out what's going on in that particular section of the subdivision, what kind of condition that lot is actually in, whether it's full of trash and the grass is 10 feet high. I'd want to find out run some sort of title search on it to see if there's all kinds of liens and judgments against it because the grass hasn't been cut and it hasn't been maintained. So the city's come by and cut the grass and cleaned it up, and then slapped $1,000 lien on there for their work. So I'd want to know a lot of information before I take that on, because you might just be buying a liability. So at minimum, I might want to get a local agent to run by there and pay them $50 to give you a report on it and take pictures of the front and the back and what's to the side, and then see if they can find out who owns the individual properties on each side, and find out if maybe the city or somebody else might have an interest in it. So it might be worth $50 to have somebody do some research on it, and then give you a report back, and then you can decide whether or not you want to get involved at all, or whether there's actually, some sort of value there, and you can come out ahead on it. That's what I do. Back to you.
Nice. Again, pick and choose your battles. If you have a lot of leads to process and work, I would prioritize, though. This isn't exactly a drop everything and work on it type of deal or live action lead. But hey, for somebody that's looking to get their feet wet, get some practice signing some docs, pursuing and chasing down leads, then might be some good practice. I would definitely give Henry a call, send him a text message so that he can apply his expertise to it. It's not the first time Henry's been able to take a look at a piece of land deal, and it turns out that, hey, it is actually worth a couple $100 in wholesaling, or a couple thousand in wholesaling. It all depends at the end of the day. What time are you guys doing your calls today, Steve, so that we can update everybody, or at least remind everyone to make sure that they're on those group coaching calls?
Yeah, 3 o'clock today.
Any particular preference on leads that you are calling today, or the type of leads? You guys are getting some direct mail. Are you sticking with direct mail, or are there other leads coming through the door these days from my marketing team?
Well, I mean, I'm working the leads like I would work my leads, right? So we did call some interesting stuff, like I called that wholesaler list the other day, which I went really well. But I'll start out, calling my direct mail, right? Because that's obviously the priority, and then so when I get through that, then I'll move on to other lead sources. But I mean, we called a lot of Craigslist for sale by owner stuff for a while, and so we're just kind of getting some direct mail calls coming in. So yeah, I'll always prioritize the direct mail calls, and then I'll splash in other lead sources to fill in the time.
Excellent, excellent. So you're doing it at 3 o'clock today Pacific, yes?
Correct.
Awesome. So 3 o'clock Pacific, live lead calls. You do listen in on those conversations. Sometimes there are replays, sometimes there aren't. It all depends on the session. For those of you that have been following up on your leads, you know, there are days where it's a bunch of voicemails. There's days when, you know, they'll pull a contract live on the session, right? So it really just all varies. If you do have leads in your local market, we encourage you to bring those to the table. We'll make some calls live to those leads. And of course, since they're your leads, they will be, you know, you will pursue them, obviously, right? And monetize it, structure the deal, and do all that good stuff. Just a quick shout out to Jim D. Thank you for subscribing and checking out our content. Ada, welcome to the group coaching program. Definitely looking forward to working with you and helping you talk to your sellers, your buyers, and converting some of those, converting your leads, right? So that you know who's a prospect and not a suspect. Roscoe is brand new to the group. Welcome. Thank you for subscribing and joining. And last but not the least, we have somebody from Netherlands who unfortunately did not put a name on there. It's they left it blank. But thank you for our international subscriber in the Netherlands. It's always fun to see where these people are subscribing from and doing deals. We do have members that have flipped houses while they're in Japan, and subscribers from around the world. We have gone global. Pretty cool. So with that, guys, let me continue. Yesterday, I shared the exact ad that we used and placed on Craigslist, where to post that so you can recruit property scouts and bird dogs. Some of you may have never heard of the term before, so we'll take a minute to address that. Bill, what is a bird dog or a property scout, right? Is there a difference between that and a wholesaler? Just a, you know, elevator pitch. What is a bird dog? What is a property scout?
Well, I think they're terms that are interchangeably. I think a property scout is more politically correct than the bird dog, and I prefer to use that term. And a property scout is simply a property finder, someone that's going to go out and find properties in accordance with your specifications. So if you're a traditional wholesaler and you're looking for distressed properties in certain parts of your market or the designated market that you're working, then you instruct that particular individual on what you're looking for and what criteria that you require in order for them to fill out the lead sheet and send it to you. And then, you know, the way they get compensated is they get compensated in pursuant to the laws in your particular state. You know, maybe they're you know, they're an maybe you pay them an advertising fee, a marketing fee, whatever's legal in your state. That's how they're compensated. But they're simply a property finder pursuant to the requirements that you have for properties in your market. Back to you.
Awesome, right? And so these are people that's basically going around the neighborhood in areas that you may not have access to, or you're limited on time and you just don't want to go door to door, right? For whatever reason. Posted a video yesterday on my Facebook page on how this, you know, by recruiting and working with local property scouts, a deal was brought to us, and that resulted in a $92,000 escrow, and a fantastic deal. Our partners absolutely loved it, and that was a good month for our partners. And so that video, again, the ad is in yesterday's replay. Do check it out. Where to post, how to post it. What I wanted to share with you guys today is other sources where you can recruit, you can network, you can find, you can build relationships and establish your network or branding and authority. Some of you investors are very hands-on with your real estate business. You actually go out, meet with the sellers, you train local people, you have open houses and workshops. And what I'm about to share with you is another source for property scouts and bird dogs. Some of you guys may already be familiar with this site and are already using it. Some of you might not be, right? So I'll type a resource, the exact web link on where you guys can check this out. But if anybody is on Meetup, right, go ahead and type it in the chat line or the GoToWebinar control panel. If you are on Meetup, if you've used it, heard about it, not quite sure what to do with it, this is not another dating website strategy like what we had released before. Meetup is basically a networking, an online tool or platform for people that are looking to establish a face-to-face network and build new contacts and relationships in their area. The interests and the topics, the industries will vary. You find a whole bunch of stuff. Whatever you're into, chances are there is a meetup group close to you or somewhere in the country, right? Now, I would recommend definitely this strategy for those of you that actually have open houses and workshops or are thinking about it, right? We had some interesting emails come in from some of our subscribers and investors after seeing some of our training sessions for property scouts and bird dogs on how it's inspired them to go back and re-engage the community so that they can pass on quality information about how to get started in wholesaling and real estate. Because let's face it, there's promoters and educators out there selling courses but have never made a penny in real estate. They are simply marketers, affiliate promoters, and there's nothing wrong with affiliate marketing, right? It's just very difficult for somebody who is looking to get started in real estate and they are led to believe that it's going to cost you 10, 20, 30,000 for a course and then tell you you have to buy marketing afterwards, right? And so meetup.com, great place to engage and find property scouts and bird dogs. I would recommend not only just checking out real estate investment clubs, right here on Meetup. So for example, right, let's say I go on meetup.com right now and I type in real estate and within 50 miles of Sherman Oaks, you'll find all sorts of different networking events focused around real estate. Now, here in LA County, I have found that not all meetups or real estate clubs or associations are focused on actually doing deals. So that is a big problem. Majority of them are, they monetize their programs or their clubs by selling courses, right? Or promoting other products or promoting other gurus. And again, that's okay, but what you want to look for are active groups that you can do deals in. So you may have to shop around to find a good meetup group, a legitimate one that actually does deals in your local marketplace. There's a bit of a trial and error with that particular process. So that's approach number one. Find local meetup groups that you can dial and plug into. Approach number two, when it comes to meetup.com, I would encourage you to start your own meetup group. And this has worked exceptionally well for the investors that we have been testing this out with. You'll hear from them here shortly on the type of meetup groups that they've held or had, right? Now, if you're not an active wholesaler or you're just getting started out, I can understand the misconception or the apprehensions where, what am I going to teach? What are we going to talk about, right? Start a simple meetup group focused or based around accountability and marketing for motivated sellers in real estate. A more action-taking based type of group as opposed to a big real estate association. Do not position yourself in that way or use that type of branding if that's not what you're about or if that's not the experience level you even have. But you can start a simple meetup group on the weekends or after hours sometime during the week and share marketing and best practices, okay? We have a section on our website, which is the Start Here 101 section, which documented how we did $140,000 in 90 days over 8 contracts. Part of this video series are different marketing strategies that you can employ as a property scout or a wholesaler. You can pass on that information and talk about different ways to market with your local group and these interested property scouts. Some of them will be experienced, some of them won't be and are looking for training and insight, right? And that's the people you want to establish a relationship with. Instead of them spending several thousands of dollars in purchasing an overpriced product or course, that could be marketing budget put towards lead generation instead. So set up a local meetup group where you meet with interested people who want to get started in real estate or who want to do deals and share your marketing practices. Okay, here's what you can do. I'm just getting started myself. Here are the areas I'm looking to do deals in. What areas do you live in? And maybe we can figure something out or work out an accountability or a program, right, where I'll market in this area, you market in that area. If I get a lead, if you find a seller in this particular location, you know, give me a call right away, right? So that way you can assign different people to different zip codes and you can cover more ground without doing more work, or at least having a nice little efficient system going, okay? Now, eventually you can monetize your group on Meetup by charging a monthly fee, but I don't recommend that when you first start out, right? Especially if you're just brand new in general, right? So that's strategy number 2. Set up a local Meetup group based on accountability and sharing best practices. Here's what we can do from a marketing standpoint. Some people have gotten really creative with this, and they'll have a yellow letter stuffing party, right? Or they'll set up, they'll use like a little room inside of a restaurant and bring all their yellow letters, hang around, around lunch or a buffet, stuff letters, talk best practices, interact, and network. Again, these are people who are willing to drive territories, who are willing to spend their weekends and whatever free time sourcing distressed real estate there for you, right? We've had our Meetup group for, I don't even want to say it's been a year, but from this Meetup group, we've paid out over $60,000 in wholesaling fees from people that have come through the door and brought us leads and off-market properties. They brought it to us first as opposed to sending it out anywhere else because they don't know what to do with it, but they've met us. They've seen what we're about. They know we're active in real estate. They like us. They want to work together and figure something out. If you're not experienced, you have access to these daily 9 a.m. sessions where Bill can help consult on the transaction for you, partner on the deal even, and help work out the numbers, and documentation and contracts are provided since we're working with you on the deal. That's what we're going to bring to the table to back you up and help you move forward to a close, right? Strategy or tip number 3 or solution number 3, what I would recommend here on meetup.com. And this is a fun one. Some of you guys are familiar with Robert Kiyosaki or Cash Flow 101, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad group, right? And so instead of having a workshop or an accountability group where maybe you're afraid or reluctant to teach because you're not quite comfortable or at that experience level where you can go ahead and teach, right? Find local Meetup groups around the Cash Flow 101 strategy, right? Or the board game Cash Flow 101. Because these are people that are looking to get started in real estate or are looking for a plan B or something that they can do in their part-time to get out of the rat race, okay? And because the Rich Dad, Poor Dad Cash Flow 101 group is based around real estate, then you're already dealing with qualified prospects or people that you can work with as a bird dog or for your local property scout network. Okay, so here's an example of a Meetup group that I have personally set up. I will copy paste the contents of my Meetup group page so you guys can swipe and use those files in your Meetup groups. Do let us know how these are going for you. But we gather weekly. You don't have to do it weekly if you can't. I do have the ability to. You can actually just run these about once a month if you'd like. But here is one little Meetup group that we've set up in Pasadena. It's picked up 148 members, and this group alone is the little group where we've paid out over $60,000 in wholesaling fees from people that have brought us deals. So we're actually buying these deals from them, or we are co-wholesaling them to our buyers list, right? And again, this revolves around a simple board game, which is the Cash Flow 101 board game, okay? We sit down, hang out over a nice little board game of Cash Flow 101. If you haven't played it, check it out. Find a local Cash Flow 101 group that you can get dialed in and plug into, okay? So this is the group, this is the event page that we have set up. For those of you that we are partnering up with or in our program, I will actually record a video with you. That way it can help boost, promote, and they see they see how serious you are about doing deals. They see that there's active investors that they can partner up and work with. And again, this brings regular and fresh candidates on a weekly basis. So last night at this particular meetup group, we had 8 people show up, hang out. Steve, how did this meetup group go for you? Because I know this is a group that you were hosting or running. How'd the meetup group go? You're on self-mute, by the way.
And I always blow the good phrase.
Right when you jump in there. Go ahead.
It went really well, though. We had a father-son that came out. I mean, they had purchased a property in the past, and it worked out really well for them as a rental. They had to leave early, so we didn't get to talk a lot, but it looks like they're looking to buy another property, right? So that's always good. We also had a college student who's looking to get into wholesaling. So like a fresh recruit who wants to learn the business, just getting his feet wet. Then we also had another gentleman he's a software guy, okay? And I forget how he gets them, but he has a way to identify financially distressed individuals very early on in the process, right? And so he was asking, is this a good lead source?
Could very well be.
I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'm trying to design a software that would do it, right? And he's like, you know anyone that would want that? So that was a very interesting guy. But that, I mean, like just, and then there was a couple other people too. But I mean, right there, I mean, you got 3 people, one looking to get started wholesaling, one looking to buy a property, and one that's got some really ninja software he's developing to get killer leads. I mean, those are some pretty good contacts for a Wednesday evening.
Nice. So your group meets on a weekly basis. Again, you guys have the ability to meet on a regular basis. You've built it in your schedule. At the very least, most groups here in the Cashflow 101 type of meetup, they meet monthly, actually. Most of them here in Los Angeles, they actually have like a monthly schedule. And so there are pockets here in LA County where there is such a high demand for it that people sign up left and right because they can't get enough of it, right? And the average reaction of most people after they sit down over a Cashflow 101 game is, wow, I really have to do something to get out of the rat race. I'm like 45 and I still don't have an exit strategy, right? It's only dawned on me right now. So how can we get started in this real estate thing? How can we get involved? How can we work together, right? And again, if you're just getting started out brand new, share your marketing practices, share the content and the training of what you know about wholesaling and the business you're looking to launch, and set up a group, an accountability group where you can work together. I'll share with you guys some sample offshoots of these meetup groups that we've been able to set up that, again, there are a lot of people signing up left and right. People are being able, doing deals from it. And again, you build a nice little healthy list. So here's a group by Lauren Cheney. She has a meetup group that she had set up. We've been telling her, you got to set one up. This is based in the San Fernando Valley area, and she's got about 80 people that have signed up to be a part of this particular group. Again, it's focused on real estate. Some of you are marketers, some of you are educators, so you can use this as a tool where you're selling without selling, and you're finding somebody who's interested in getting started in real estate. And I know as entrepreneurs, you know, most of your friends and family, they don't necessarily jump on board the bus, right, and are dying to work with you and support whatever business you're looking to start up. But there are people, you know, looking for somebody like you who is active in your space and industry, wants to work with somebody in the trenches, and is a bit smarter about where they put their investment and their capital, right? They don't want to buy another course. They want to do deals. They want to get their hands dirty. They want to be very hands-on in the trenches. So this has been a phenomenal resource and tool for us. Somebody here's asking, other than Property Scouts, what else have you guys been able to do with this little meetup list? We've been able to raise private money. You never know who's going to show up at these things, but if you build it, they will come. We've been able to raise over 1.5 million in private funding, where investors are willing to fund rehabs. They want to partner on joint venture deals. And so you can go from a simple Property Scout to now being able to partner and make profits on a rehab deal, because you now have a private money partner or some hard money lenders that have come to your group, hung out with you, like what you're about. They see the mission, and the fire and the burning desire to make this real estate wholesaling operation work, or your little business venture work. And they're looking for you. They are actively looking for you. So this has been working great. And again, another place where you can expand your network, build your authority, and genuinely find off-market property and deals. I think was it Josh Cantwell? And I keep saying this because you know, he said something very interesting where every person is good for about 5 deals in their direct warm market. And again, people will have brought us these leads and deals as opposed to anybody else. So just because they attended our meetup group, we hung out, we played a board game, and got to know each other, selling without selling. They can check us out, we can check them out, you know, and it's worked really well and real nicely for us. So yes, private money is available on there. You will also meet other vendors and specialists in your local marketplace, right? Investor-friendly agents, credit repair, different people in the industry, so you can quickly assemble your team or have people that you can screen and get to know and add to your network of contacts. Maybe you don't need credit repair right now, but that credit repair person could refer you to other good people in the industry so that you can get off to a fast start as opposed to a slow start. So definitely check that out, and I encourage you guys to, if you're not going to set up your own, join a Cashflow 101 group, right? Because you will find some good prospects. This, for me, has been the best place for me to find other active wholesalers or people that want to do deals, as opposed to going to the RIA clubs, right? Because again, most of the RIA clubs that I've gone to here end up selling high-end coaching programs, and that's not what I'm looking for, right? At least not at this stage in the game. So do check that one out. Any questions to this particular topic or site?
Hey Gil, I forgot about one of our guests over at the Cashflow game last night.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had this guy from England who visited LA for like a week, loved it, and then he just recently moved to LA for a month trying to find work. So he's literally 2 weeks in the country, and he found our Cashflow game.
Nice. That is very, very cool. Yes, we can record a video with you, especially if you're a member or a subscriber to our content. I think a quick video of you and me side by side would definitely help the cause and encourage more people to sign up. You know, they see active investors. And it helps put that marketing juice behind it. So I'll copy paste the different ways you can enter your information here at meetup.com, so you know and can duplicate this for your particular business. If you guys are still on the session, we'll hold out here for another few questions or clarifications. Otherwise, I'll get a mic test going with broker Julio, so we can take a look-see and hear what's working for him. We wanted to have broker Julio on this session. We are marketing for the guy. We're managing his Property Scout network. In the last 2 weeks, correct me if I'm wrong, broker Julio, but you went on 3 appointments and locked up 3 properties. Has that number changed at all?
No, that's pretty accurate. That's what has been going on with me and the deals.
Nice, nice. So 3 contracts in the last 2 weeks. That's 3 more contracts than what most people ever see in their lifetime here in LA County as a wholesaler or a property scout. What's been working for you lately? Maybe we can break down a couple of those situations on those contracts, on you know, how the lead came in, what you said to secure the appointment, or if somebody set it up for you. Let's start with you know, your favorite contract out of the 3. What's the most interesting one, and what can we share here with other wholesalers or investors that are dialed in on our sessions?
Well, the deals, one of them came from a bird dog or property scouter, and you know, he sent me the information. I looked it up. The seller is a motivated seller. He inherited the property. He lives out of state, lives in Arizona. The property is in California. He has no intention to move into his mother's home. He just wants out. And right from the beginning, look at the numbers, and the numbers seem to work out pretty good. Um, so as long as you are talking to motivated sellers, that's the biggest trick that I can find. I mean, if the sellers are looking to buy, and most of the sellers are, for true value or market value of the property, I mean, it's going to be pretty tough to make that conversion, and trying to make those people understand what is it that you're coming in low and why is it that you need to make money. So at the end of the day, as long as you are working with motivated sellers, whatever the case may be, you are already well into making a transaction. And on these three occasions, we have exactly that. We had motivated sellers ready to do business. The other property we lacked up came from another bird dog.
Oh no! Before you move on, let's break down this scenario, because you mentioned some nice key things, and we like to use these sessions and set the bar on some of these things, right? Like I think people use the term joint venture, apprenticeships, partnerships. I think it's been, they're using it way too loosely. I mean, it's really more of a high-end course, and you're paying for high-end consulting. It's not a true joint venture. You and Bill are one of the, the educators / real investors that are doing this deal. Now, a bird dog had contacted you or contacted our office on that day with a possible lead or deal. I remember, because I'm looking at the notes here, the seller was coming into town that very same day. This lead came from direct mail. There's a reason why we keep pitching and talking about direct mail. This lead came in via direct mail, and the seller was coming in from Vegas, right? Because he lives in Vegas. That came in probably about 9 in the morning. Your office, your team, was able to get somebody out to the property that very same day, correct?
That is correct, and that is really important that you mentioned that, because at the end, we spend the time and we're not afraid to do the driving as long as the numbers make sense. This deal made sense from the very beginning. So we had somebody at the property the very same day, yes.
Nice. So you responded same day, and that was important because the owner was only going to be in town, I don't know, was he going to be in town for a long time, a little time?
No, just for a time frame window of about 2 to 3 hours.
Okay, so he was only...
He just wanted to come in and drive right back. And as a matter of fact, he had a meeting with us and with another investor.
Nice.
I tried to beat the other investor. Actually, he beat me. So at the time I arrived to the property, when the seller was here, the other investor was already speaking to the seller. And I introduced myself, and I said, you know what, I think he's trying to do the same thing that I'm doing, so I let you guys talk all you want. I told the seller, don't make any commitments yet, because you still haven't heard what I can offer for your property, so I just meet you in the Starbucks at the corner. And he said, yeah, I know what the Starbucks is. So I waited probably about an hour and a half. Hour and a half.
Before you move forward there, right? You mentioned something really crucial on there. You came to the property and you saw that there was competition, right? There's other people on site. Guys, in LA, I've picked up stalkers from my supposedly buyers list. We've changed the way we do business with our buyers. Since some of them weren't buyers, they were basically deal poachers, some very shady, unscrupulous people that will go around and bid a higher offer and basically steal your deals. That's super not cool. Don't do business that way. And so you showed up. There's other competition there. We all know that standard operating procedure here in LA. There's going to be somebody else at the property. But you planted a seed in the seller's mind to keep them engaged and to allow them to move forward with you. And you told them, looks like there's other investors over here, right? Before you do anything and accept their offer, let's have a conversation afterwards so that you can hear what I have to say and make a good decision. Is that fair? I'd be willing to wait here and meet you at the Starbucks if you can make that happen, right? Now, for most people, they've never tried that approach. They've never heard of that, or they don't set the right expectation. Some people think a seller would never agree to that, or don't know how to handle that. What was the seller's reaction when you told him to basically don't accept their offer, wait to hear mine? Did he bark at that? Was he pissed off? Was he appreciative? What was the reaction?
No, actually, his reaction was, no, you don't have to leave, Julio. I mean, we can all talk. And I said, let's save some time for all parties. I mean, he's trying to do what I'm trying to do, to be honest. And if you were dating two girls, you don't have the same two girls at the same day, do you? And she goes, no. So I made him laugh, and I started creating rapport with the guy, and he was actually really mad and sad because he had the understanding that he was coming in to California. He had made a call to the police department, and he had agreement, a verbal agreement, according to him, the police was supposed to escort him in and see the inside of the house. The problem is he already had started an eviction process, and when he told me that, I said, no, the police is not going to come. And he goes, yeah, I found that out already. I said, yeah, I mean, you would have told me in advance. I would have told you, and you would be saving your trip to California, because I know once you start an eviction process, no police is going to escort you in. I mean, you just need to wait until the eviction process is finished. And he goes, oh, man, I wish I would have known that, because that would have saved my day. I said, well, too bad you didn't tell me that. So I started creating that rapport, and therefore I said, you know what, I just wait for you at the Starbucks in the corner. Would you mind joining me there? And he goes, no, as soon as I finish with, I forgot the guy's name, I'll meet you out there. So we start waiting and waiting for the guy. It was about an hour and a half, probably the longest 1 hour and a half that I had to wait, because on my mind it said, this guy that is not coming in. I mean, he already made a business with the other guy, and he's not even showing up. So we called him, and he said, oh, no, I'm still here with the guy. That happened a couple of times, and we finally said, let's wait for the guy. So he finally showed up, and we start talking about the property. Well, I start building up more rapport and talking about himself, his family, what he's doing, and just building up rapport. And finally we came to the conclusion to start speaking about the property, and I said, by that time he had opened up, and he goes, man, that guy, he was just trying to hold on to me so I wouldn't come with you. And I said, well, it's normal, but he's a nice, sharp guy. And he goes, well, he's not that sharp, so I'm here with you. So I said, okay, that's good. So I started asking the questions and finding out what he was willing to offer the other investor. And since the property is in eviction and nobody could see the inside.
Before you move forward, Julio, I'll jump in real quick. I want to highlight that other point here. We have a lot of people based here in Southern California. And so even something as simple as, sharing that one little tip, or, in the eviction process, you're not going to have a sheriff pop up right on day one. And when Broker Julio said that, the seller had an aha moment. Very simple, right? But nobody had managed to tell him that or share that piece of information. So by sharing that tip, right, he's continuing to build up the do business with me, I like Julio versus this other guy, and move him closer to a connection and to getting that paperwork signed, which, by the way, did result in a contract. So fast forward, Broker Julio, you're at the meeting, you're talking to the guy. Go ahead.
Yes, and I asked him, what's the other guy offer? And he shared that information with me, and it was a little lower than I was willing to offer. So I said, what it would take to do business today? Because, you're coming out from out of the state. What if I can just take your headache away from you? Would that be okay with you? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you're on an eviction process. What if I just continue with the eviction, pay that from my pocket? You don't ever need to come back to California. You don't want to, unless you don't need to come back and deal with the same issue, having the eviction and then having to clean up the house and put it on the market. And who knows how long it's going to take that for you to happen. Are you ready to do business today? And he said, yeah, I'm pretty much ready. I mean, as long as I like the number. I already knew that what he was looking to get, it was already within my budget. So I still lowered that another $5,000, and he said, I think I'm ready. If you are taking the eviction process over and you're gonna pay that from your pocket, and I don't need to ever come back to California to deal with this property, I'm willing to sign right now. So as soon as he said that, I opened up my briefcase, handed the already pre-filled up agreement that I already had. I mean, the only thing I was missing was the purchase price. He was impressed by that. He goes, "Wow, you're ready." I said, "Yeah, I am. I know what I'm doing." And he goes, "Well, the other guy wasn't as sharp as you, huh?" He goes, "I don't know. I mean, this is the way I do business." So he is super excited.
Yeah, before you move forward, another key point that we want to highlight. It's these micro scenarios, these one-liner, these little things that do make a difference, right? Broker Julio was given the opportunity to bash his competition, right? He could have said, "Oh, the other guy's unprofessional. The other guy doesn't know what he's doing." He could have said a million different things. Most people would say something negative to try to discredit their competition or their competitors, right? Instead, the way you handled it was, I'm not quite sure, right? I mean, he's not familiar with their operation, so it's an honest answer. It's an honest and straightforward answer that most people are already expecting anyway, right? I'm not quite sure, but, this is the way that I do business, and how most homeowners have, liked that and appreciate that. So you transition to a Jones effect on how other homeowners have liked it, so this guy should also like it too. So again, when given the opportunity to, comment on your competitors, just handle it professionally and with grace. I'm not sure how they do things, or they could be a great company. I don't know. Maybe you had a bad experience on that day. Either way, I'm here to help you, Mr. Misseller, and then transition to the documentation. Did you have everything pre-filled out? Did you have a stock form? Somebody here is asking if you bring it all filled out, all they have to do is sign, because some people are creeped out by that. What worked well for you once you pulled out the contract and was putting pen to paper?
Well, once I know, and again, this is part of the homework in advance that I do on the properties. This particular property, again, made sense from the very beginning. So I was comfortable having the contract completely filled out with the owner's name on it, I mean, the property information, the APA number, the legal description, everything filled out. The only thing missing was the purchase price. We just filled that up and start signing. To me, it's a normal standard process. This is how I do business with the properties that I'm showing up to the meetings, and that's why it's important to talk to the seller in advance and find out the motivation. I mean, that's, again, the key is the motivation of the seller. If the seller is motivated enough, you should be able to read that with your phone calls. And I did that, and I felt comfortable. So it worked out really well.
Nice. Now, during all this, and I want to highlight and mention that because we have people in Southern California, they want to learn and be hands-on with the process. And so this was a perfectly good lead. They had acquired it because they had followed up, right? This was a direct mail lead that came in through the door a few months ago, okay? And the property scout basically marked it dead. They found one of our webinars. They saw we were actually active in doing deals, and we recommended, hey, call everybody back or go through the leads, the direct mail, anybody that's called you, because you may be able to revive some of those. And he reworked his leads, and lo and behold, this guy, the timing worked out, right? But if he did not make that follow-up, if you're not working with an actual deal maker and a doer in your local marketplace, guys like Broker Julio, Bill, Henry, the content contributors that we have on these sessions, none of this would have happened. Now, I talk about this because while you were in the negotiation process, the property scout was with you the whole time. Weren't they? Were they watching? Or did they say anything? How was the hands-on experience for the property scout? Because that must have been pretty mind-blowing for somebody that has never done a deal to watching this happen live in person.
Well, the property scout person, he's the one that had been in touch with the seller prior to me meeting with the seller. I never even met the property scout before. So when I showed up to the property, I thought that was the property scout for me, and it turned out to be the other investor. So I greet the guy with the name of the property scout. He goes, "No, my name is such and such." Oh, okay. I said, "Okay." So that was odd from the beginning. But then when the property scout showed up, and we had to wait for the guy at the Starbucks, he was telling me, just make sure that he knows that I'm have enough experience, even though he doesn't have any experience. I said, don't worry, that is not going to be an issue at all. So from that point on, he just kept his mouth shut all the time. He was smiling now and then, and we were able to do the business. So, I mean, I feel comfortable speaking with sellers. I mean, I don't have any issues with that. I was asking the property scout guy a few questions just to say yes or no, so just to keep him on the loop. But other than that, I mean, I think he learned a lot. He was really super excited at the end.
Nice. Now, what's your recommendation? Like for me, I encourage people to go on these appointments, right? We do deals nationwide. We have bird dogs in different territories. We manage the Property Scout Network for you guys by creating these videos and uploading them to your site. And so that your office isn't bombarded with questions, it's handled by our office, which does it on a daily basis anyway. And guys like Broker Julio, once there's a live lead, right, that's the only time they'll get in touch with the Property Scout, so that Broker Julio isn't bogged down by questions like, what is wholesaling? What can I do? Yada, yada, right? We take all of that stress off of his plate, and instead, here's a live lead, here's the Property Scout, move forward, right? And that's the time that they had met. Now, I encourage you guys to go on these appointments so that you can learn and you can see, and it gives you confidence in your craft, that you know what you're doing, you know what to say, and at least you can say you've met with a seller or negotiated or have seen it happen, okay? Sometimes it's just as simple as being able to see it once, and that alone can give you 100% of the belief and confidence in you being able to actually do this stuff. Market, talk to sellers, process them. Now, I understand some of you prefer the virtual style, or you don't like meeting with sellers. That's not your strength. That is okay, right? You don't have to go on the appointment with the acquisition manager or guys like Broker Julio. You can simply tee it up. The acquisition team will go out, lock up the property, and credit you for the wholesale fee, the assignment fee, or if it's a home run deal, then, come on board, since there's there's much more profit that we can be spread around to all the partners, or, benefit from in the payouts, right? And so you can go on them if you want to. You don't have to go on them if you don't want to, or if you can't, right? Obviously, you will learn more if you're hands-on in your craft or at the appointment. What are your tips, Broker Julio, for somebody that's brand new and is going to attend some of these appointments and meetings? Because I've seen some people where they get a little bit too excited and they end up what we fondly call as a verbal barrage, and they end up saying something which hurts the negotiations. They don't know any better. They're just overly excited, right? So what are your tips when you go out on a way a Property Scout or a bird dog can handle themselves and present themselves during these seller appointments and negotiations?
Well, I like to usually tell them, if I don't ask you any questions, please don't even come into the conversation. Because like you said, sometimes they are just, they're trying to do a good thing, but they end up hurting the transaction. And instead of helping you out, they are kind of putting roadblocks on the transaction from not happening. So since they don't have the experience, I just say, if I don't ask you any questions, and just when I ask something, just say yes, no, kind of brief answers, just to keep you on the loop so you can participate in the conversation without having to hinder the transaction. At the end of the day, I do believe that I have the expertise in handling and speaking to sellers. And if they don't have that experience yet, I would much rather have them kind of quiet, yes, no, that type of thing. And at the end of the day, more times than not, they end up saying, you know what, you were right. I'm glad I didn't say anything. Like in this case, the property scout, he was saying, you know what, when you were dealing with the seller, I was about to tell you how much we can offer. I mean, the guy doesn't even know the comps. He doesn't know anything. We just based just based on the conversation that was going, he kind of had a number on the head. I said, I'm glad you didn't, because everything I ask is, I'm looking at the seller's reactions, and my questions are based on that conversation with the seller. So I don't even know. I mean, I don't have a pre-glam or a pre-screen presentation. I just pretty much follow up the conversation with the seller, looking at his reactions, and coming up with my next pitch on the conversation. So everything turned out to be just great. I mean, and again, everything when you're dealing with a motivated seller, this is the outcome. When you're dealing with a property that is worth 160 and they want 170, I mean, I don't care how good of a negotiator you are, probably chances are you will not be walking out with a deal.
Nice.
And at the end, like you were mentioning before, here in California, you need to present 2 or 3 options. One would be seller financing, subject to rent to own, or a cash deal. Present different options. That way they know that you're there to help them out, not to take advantage of them. And the solution that they do choose is because they choose to be or like it better than the other options. It's not just the cash offer. The nasty investor is trying to take away the house. He's stealing the house from me. So therefore they don't have that impression from you. And that's kind of really important. Seems like not really important, but it is actually the difference between walking out with the deal and not walking out with the deal. So we always ready to present 2 or 3 different options for them to choose from.
That's and so we encourage you guys to go on these appointments, whether you do business with us or you're partnering with somebody else locally. We've made some recommendations based on where you are and on wholesalers that you can do business with, have been pre-screened, and I understand that, we have some property scouts that have come to us because they're very disgruntled. Wholesalers that have been sending leads and deals to other investors, never getting a response, or worse, right? Finding out that the investor actually purchased the property and never credited them for the sale or worked out a deal or compensated them for all the time and effort that they had put into it. So you do have these people that are overly excited, will say something because they feel that if they don't, then they might miss out on the deal or they won't get credit for it, right? But have a conversation prior to the appointment, which you can say, what you won't say. This is how I got started in real estate. I would go out on these appointments so I could see how broker Julio, how these investors, what they say, how they say it, because there is an approach on how to do that, right? And sometimes they may be able, during those conversations, they may say things that seem a little bit unorthodox, they'll focus on the rapport building over, talking numbers or selling, right? That's the number one thing I get when I take somebody out or somebody's with me learning. When I'm at a property negotiating or talking to the seller, at the end of it, it goes, man, we spent like an hour there at that property. You guys didn't even talk numbers. Sounded like you were hanging out for 45 minutes. And in the last 15 minutes, that's the only time we talk business. But there is a science to it, and it's because they love us, trust us, and they're most comfortable with us. That's why they end up signing on the dotted line. And we are still doing deals in LA County where we're picking them up at 40, 50, 60% of the after repair value, well below retail, where our rehabbers love the deal, they make money on it, and we can too, at some pretty healthy spreads. So let's wrap up this particular scenario, Broker Julio. I know you have 2 other ones, but I think we'll be able to save those for other sessions here for the group. So you met after all that, seller signs on the dotted line. Any other tips or suggestions, or maybe lessons learned in hindsight from this particular scenario that we can share with the group as we wrap up and close the session?
Always try to concentrate on listen to what the problem is with the seller that they're trying to get a solution for. Help them out to get that solution. Resolve the problems for the seller, and the seller is going to be happy. I mean, they will not even look so much about the pricing, but solving the problem. This particular deal was picked up just because I offer the solution to the seller. I said, what if I can take the headache away from you today? You don't need to come back in 35, 45 days when the eviction completes, and then having to remarket the property and clean up the property. What if I solved your problem today? And that was the closing point, and that was the closing argument for the seller before he said, you know what, let's do it today. I'm ready to do it. If you are taking care of all my problems, I'll sign up today. I mean, I know I can get a higher price if I show the inside, but you know what? You offered me the solution today, so I like that. And that's, I mean, to this day, he's super excited. I talked to him before jumping into this morning session because he sent me some paperwork. He's super excited. He keeps on saying thank you, thank you, thank you all the way. So, you know, let's provide the solutions, real estate solutions to the sellers, and I think we can do some business.
Awesome. Fantastic. We'll save those 2 other case scenarios and studies for you guys on a different session. I understand everybody is on a tight schedule. We went over today, but for good reason, right? These are really interesting case studies and scenarios. You have a lot of multiple factors in play. This was an old lead marked dead. Seller came into town for 3 hours. They still got the contract after 3-4 hours that his competitor had spent with the investor, right? I mean, what the heck were they talking for 3 or 4 hours? And how long was your appointment with the seller, Broker Julio? 2 hours, 3 hours, 45 minutes?
Probably I spent about an hour.
Right. So what did this competitor talk about for like 4 hours? And that guy knew. He saw Broker Julio. Broker Julio thought he was the property scout and was all nice and introduced him. That probably messed up his head too. I know when I show up at a property, I'll greet all the other bidders, all the other investors, and make a light conversation out of it. Right? And so the 2 other scenarios that we're going to share with you, believe it or not, we'll give you a preview on it. One of them is an actual property where the homeowner had filed and claimed insurance on it twice, one for water damage and one for a roof. And then on the 3rd final try, he actually he set the house on fire. Basically, he was trying to burn it down. What he did not realize is that 2 hours before he set the fire so that he could collect insurance on it, the house was auctioned at the court steps, okay, and was picked up by another investor, guess who, and so now they are in this situation where I think it's going to undergo an investigation because they already know that the seller, there could be some foul play there. On another type of lead or deal, on direct mail, again, a different scenario. This is dealing with a seller that lives in town that Broker Julio went on face-to-face. So we'll break those down. Maybe sometime tomorrow, Broker Julio has time to join us. He does go out and does deals himself, so we'll try to get him back on tomorrow's session. Franco, did you get the link to the website on the marketing services? Because that has the package breakdowns. We have a video on there that talks about the marketing programs, what's included. These are actual marketing programs with some training included, okay? It's not a course. It's not a product. They are lead generation services or telemarketing and cold calling or pre-screening services. And then we do have an educational component or some training videos to help supplement and support you on the way, right? If you've never bought an entire course in your life, check out the replays or the resources section on the website on courses that I have personally purchased and would recommend, because it always helps if you have a piece of course that you can always go back to and reference. If you do not have the capital to purchase a course, because they go for $5,000 to $10,000, it all just depends on who you buy from. Start in the Start 101 section of our website, because we do document the entire A through Z of how to wholesale real estate, which includes filling out paperwork and closing, all that stuff. I mean, full process, A to Z on that one. We'll hold out here for another minute just in case there's any last minute clarifications with any of the content today. In conclusion, right, what did we talk about today? We opened the session reviewing, let me pull that up here. reviewing a particular scenario that seems to be coming up in Bill's business as well as with other students. Sellers that have gotten stuck with a property via a quit claim deed. So they're not quite sure the situation that they found themselves in. They know they have a property, they want to exit it, and Bill gives you some scenarios, tips, what to say to demonstrate value, to build comfort, and move them forward. Enough for you to hop back on these sessions, call Bill, and find out what to say and what to do next. But basically to keep that seller engaged and how to move them forward. Steve shared some feedback on some of his cold calling and lead sessions. So we did that earlier today. Welcomed our new subscribers. Again, thank you guys. We definitely appreciate you checking out our content. Some of you are subscribing from Netherlands and somewhere else in the world. Bill talks about what is a property scout or bird dog. Just a quick elevator pitch. Okay, I shared a strategy and a marketing channel via Meetup. Okay, this is a sample of a Meetup other Meetup groups that have branched off and from members that we have. And you know, this is the video that we record side by side, right? So just a nice little sample on there of what it would look like, and how to effectively use Meetup if you're looking to bootstrap or if you want to build your own exclusive network for leads, deals, and property scouts. And, you know, we closed out the session with a bang today. We had broker Julio on talking about one of 3 scenarios on 3 contracts and wholesale deals that he has personally locked up in his business, right? And so we'll have 2 more that we can share with you guys over the upcoming webinars. So do check that out. All right. Again, different case studies, different scenarios and situations, so that even if you can't make them or if you don't have these, you're at least training and you know what to expect or some of the scenarios and how to handle and address those. Franco got it. Yes, thanks. Franco, take a look at the marketing packages, and then I would recommend you give this gentleman a call once you have reviewed the marketing packages in great detail, or at least we have something to talk about, right? And then we'll be able to answer and move you forward, because I think the training videos there would answer a lot of your questions. You can do deals in your backyard, or you can partner with us and do deals where I am personally buying. That way you have a set buyer. We also have a buyer's list, so you don't have to worry about that. You can maximize these types of scenarios where an acquisition manager, somebody like Broker Julio, myself, or somebody else here in the marketplace will go up and lock up the property on your behalf. Shekinah says, sign me up. Welcome and thank you, rather. And congratulations on your new broker's license, by the way. Fantastic stuff. Very good to hear. And yeah, when you're dealing with the motivated sellers, it's not about the money, right? I mean, they have other priorities that are more important to them. It does affect their decision, but that's not the biggest thing, right? I mean, that other guy spent 3-4 hours, Broker Julio's competition, Broker Julio spent an hour with them, and it wasn't the money. It wasn't the money that tipped the scale in their favor. It's addressing their main pain and their problem. And that's what we focus on in our group coaching program, where to identify how to pre-screen, how to get to that motivation level, so you know, is this person motivated or are they not, right? No urgent questions are popping up. And so replays will go live within a 12 to 24 hour period or window. Yesterday's replay on where to post your Craigslist ads and the exact ad copy is now available on the website. So with that, guys, my name is Gil. On behalf of all our content contributors and Broker Julio, thank you again for jumping on this session. We will see you on our next live training session. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.